dessert whenever we need.
Today I have Brett Beechner. Me and Brett worked together, and we actually lived together as graduate assistants when we coached at Ottawa University in 2010 and 2011. Went to the NAI National Playoffs 2 years in a row. So, Brett, would you like to introduce yourself and where you've been?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. My name is Brett Beechner, like Nick said. I'm the co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach at Howard University right now. Just got there in February with our new head coach, Coach Larry Scott. Um, like Nick said, we were at Ottawa University together in Kansas, and that was actually my first coaching job as a GA there at Ottawa in 2010, and working with the wide receivers and quarterbacks. Was at Ottawa for 3 years, and then moved on to be a GA at Midwestern State, Division II school in Texas, working with running backs. Uh, GA there for a year, and then got on at the University of North Texas as an intern working with tight ends. Was at North Texas for one season, and then through some people that I met at North Texas, I actually got on at Mississippi State. And as a GA there, working with wide receivers. GA'd for 1 year, was moved to quality control at the end of that season. Stayed on as quality control for 2 years, 2 more years. And then when Coach Mullen at Mississippi State got the opportunity at the University of Florida, he took me with him and went to Florida in the same capacity as the offensive quality control, working with receivers with Coach Billy Gonzalez, and did that for 2 years at Florida. Larry Scott was the tight ends coach at Florida, came down from the University of Tennessee. He was the offensive coordinator there. Joined our staff at Florida when we got there, and worked hand in hand with him every day and developed a really good relationship with him. And he got the opportunity at Howard and called me up and asked me if I wanted to go, and I jumped at it. It was kind of one of those opportunities that you get to work with someone that you know really, really well. You believe in their vision and what they want to do, and at a place like Howard that is nationally recognized and kind of known all over the place, it's a unique opportunity. So I jumped at that, and just got going, like I said, in February, and trying to make it happen, man.
My first question for you is now with all this time, offensive coaches are watching NFL film, doing a lot of Zoom sessions. What is one new trend you think defenses are going to have to prepare for this upcoming season that offensive guys are going to run?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because so much of football, is cyclical. Goes in and out. Different variations of it. And people kind of put their own twist on things, and you find new trends. I think there's something that you're going to see more of, and you see. I think you see a fair amount of it already, but I think it's going to be expanded even more. Is really the RPO game that you saw LSU running this last season. LSU kind of took everybody by storm last year. And what they did with Joe Burrow and Joe Brady, I think they really caught some people's eye, and they did a lot of really cool things with their different reads, second level reads, and things like that I think you're going to start seeing a lot more people expand on. Obviously, RPOs have been around for a while, and have really been big in college and high school, especially. But I think you're going to start seeing that spread a little bit even further than it already is, and become more, of a staple. And that's kind of, some people might tell me that that's already a staple in college football, and you see it a lot already. And then you do. You're right. Having a bubble on the backside of a zone play is technically an RPO, and that kind of thing. But I think it's gonna get more involved even than that. Offenses like to push rules as far as they can. And I know that in the SEC, at least in that league, the lineman downfield rule is a loose interpretation at best. Doesn't always get called. It may be different in some leagues, but I think if referees and officials are loose on that rule, you're going to see a lot more intricate RPO schemes, more so than just maybe running a hitch or a bubble or a quick slant behind the backer or something like that. I think you're going to see some more conceptual stuff, and kind of that RPO game going to the next level. That's what I think. Like I said, everything is cyclical. It goes in and out and comes back. Triple option is alive and well in football today. It's just not from under center anymore with three tight ends. It's a lot. It looks a little bit different, but it's the same general philosophy. But yeah, that's what I think. It'll be interesting to see. Something always comes up that catches you kind of off guard. You think, oh man, I didn't think of that. And I'm sure that will happen again this year, even with things being the way they are. But there's a lot of good coaches out there, a lot of good ideas, and it'll be fun to watch.
My next question is kind of game planning. Team A versus Team B. Who would you rather play and why? So Team A, they run every front in the world. They're probably like me. All right, they're going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 down, do a lot of stuff, but pretty simple on the back end. Team B is going to line up probably with your 3 technique to the tailback every single time in a 4 down front. But they're going to play cover 2, cover 4, cover 1, cover 3. They're both 50, it's a 50-50 matchup. They're both really good. They both have good players. As a coordinator now, who would you rather face and why?
For me, I would rather see the team that ran one front and had multiple coverages on the back end. That to me is easier to digest as an offense than trying to figure out how to block up a bunch of different fronts. It becomes very difficult to just get your run game going if you have to start trying to block everything up against the different looks. And so then what you do is you start to pare things down and be, okay, so we need to be simple. So we're just going to run inside zone. We're just going to run outside zone. Well, then you don't really have a run game, and to get the pass game going, you have to have a run game. It's key, unless there's a couple offenses out there that can make it go the other way. But I think that just general rule of thumb, you've got to establish a run game, especially in our offense that we have at Howard. We have to be able to establish a run game, and so looking at a team that is going to line up in the same front every time is an advantage we feel for us, because now we can start to dictate, okay, we like inside zone to this look, or we like, counter to this look. And now we can start to dictate when those looks happen. On the back end, they may jump into cover 2, cover 4, cover 3, they're rolling safeties, whatever it is. That's all fine and good. I think that's easier to deal with in the pass game, just the way especially our pass game is set up to kind of give you different options versus multiple different coverages within the same play. So I think that getting the offensive line straight first, if they've got it easy, I think that you're much more capable it opens your game plan up, as an offensive coordinator to do some different things. If you know what the front's going to be, if you know when blitzes are coming, it can be easier that way. I feel than having it a bunch of different fronts with one coverage. It's I've seen both. Gone up against both types of teams. One team that's done it for a long time, has done it really well, is Alabama. They run very simple fronts, but they run a bunch of different coverages and a bunch of different split safety coverages that all look the same, but have very intricate rules and differences that that change things and change route patterns and that kind of thing. And so they've been really, really good at it. And so, one might say you just, what you told us you want to go up against is what the best team in the country runs. It's like, well, they're also really, really athletic and really, really talented. So I think that, if you've got a shot one way, I feel that if they're running one front, multiple coverages, I feel like you can get your game plan going a little bit easier that way. It's a little bit more predictable than if you're going up against a team that's running a bunch of different fronts.
That's good news for me. What is one thing that you like to look at in opponent's breakdown when you're looking at the film?
Yeah, when we look at opponent breakdown, and there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I don't think there's any right way or wrong way. It's however it's best for you. We look at everything formationally. We are such a formation team, being, kind of a no huddle tempo team. Everything for us is based off of formation, because the defense is getting lined up formationally more often than not, what we're seeing. So we try to look at everything by formation. And then again, it goes back to seeing, okay, If we get into a 2-by-2 set, are they going to give us a base look? Are they going to, 90% of the time, they're going to jump into this defense? If that's the case, then we can start to dissect that a little bit more and say, okay, what do we like against this look? We know we're going to get this look. So let's find something that we can run that we feel good about. Whereas we jump into a 2-by-2 set and they're all over the place, it just starts to become muddy and you're not really sure. And so you're like, I might stay away from that formation this week, just because it's unpredictable. So some defense, I know every defense, they want to eliminate tendencies. Everybody's got them. There's a tendency somewhere in everybody's scheme, offense and defense. And so the good coaches know their tendencies and know how to hide them a little bit, or know how to counter them with some strengths. But I think if you can find a tendency anywhere, that's what you want to attack. And so we try to find that by formation, and getting lined up and then getting the defense set. And if we know they're going to be in a specific look, then we can start to, like I said, dissect things a little bit from there and try to get into it that way. That's just what we do. Like I said, there's no wrong way or right way to do it. But that's how we look at it.
No, I can think of one example. When you were at Florida, you guys got an empty and ran some Q draw against old Donnie Brown at Michigan, which you knew what you were going to get out of empty, and you had a nice scheme there. And it was funny because we run a similar defense to Don Brown, and I was texting you before the game. I'm like, mesh, quarterback runs, like that stuff's tough. Like I know it is, and you guys went out and had a heck of a game. My next question is tempo thoughts. What do you like? I know you've been all over the place. You've done a bunch of different things. What do you like with tempo? Are you fast always? You like to change it up? So what is your tempo thoughts?
I think that, tempo is an interesting deal too, because you can really affect the game and affect the defense that way. You can drive a defense, one way or another with tempo. And tempo, I think, has an association with speed. Just in that kind of thing. You say tempo, you automatically think fast. There are some programs that do really, really well with really, really fast tempos, and that's great. I think that if you're going to do that, you got to sell out and you got to do it, and that's how you get good at it, doing it all the time. For me, I like to think of tempo kind of like you would think think of pitches for a starting pitcher in the major leagues or for any level. You got to have different pitches. You can't just go out there and throw straight gas and you're going to get shelled. Eventually people are going to catch up to you. And so it's one of those things where we feel like we need to have some different tempos. We need to be able to go fast when we need to. We need to be able to back off a little bit and get the signal and just run a normal tempo, or slow it down, dummy cadence, look to the sideline and check, and those types of things, or even huddle. I feel they need to have the ability to do different tempos, because not every tempo is going to work against every defense. Some defenses go against an offense every day in their own practice that runs up tempo, that goes really fast, so they're more used to it. We ran into that when we were at Florida and Mississippi State when we were playing Auburn. Auburn goes against their own offense every day in practice, and so they're used to tempo and speed and that kind of thing. And so we had to try to find a different advantage when we're playing them, as opposed to just going tempo. A few years ago in 2017, we were at Mississippi State and we're playing Alabama. Alabama is such a formational defense that they try to steal signs and and everything, and figure out what formation you're in, which I'm all for. Steal all the signs you want. It doesn't really matter to me. But they would try to figure out as fast as they could what formation you're going to be in, and then that dictated their defensive call. Well, we knew that going in, and so we said, we'll huddle. Let's huddle, and break the huddle with some tempo, with some speed, and get up to the ball and get set, and not give them a chance to look at the formation very quickly. That presented some problems for them, because now we're getting on the ball and getting set and getting ready to snap the ball, and they're just trying to figure out what their call is going to be, and then get lined up and get set, get all their checks and all that kind of things. Like I said, they have a very intricate back end that requires a lot of communication. And so we felt that, doing that would give us an advantage, and it did. We took them down to the wire that game. Ultimately, we lost. But it was one of those games that we were really in it because we threw them a curveball with tempo that they weren't expecting. And it forced them to play a base defense, call a base defense every snap now on your, kind of your base downs. First and second down, they would stay in a 3-man front. Pretty balanced. It kind of eliminated their pressures because their pressures are dictated and predicated off of formation. And so that to us gave us an advantage. So we like to have different tempos and things at our disposal, just like you want to have different pitches if you're pitching. We want to be able to take what works and what's going to give us an advantage and use that particular week and do it that way. So I love tempo. I think that going fast is great. It allows you the ability to score a lot of points. But I also think there's a place for pulling off the gas a little bit and doing some things maybe a little bit different out of the box that people don't see every day, just to try to give you an advantage that way. Also, you slow it down a little bit, you give your defense some rest too, and you can appreciate that. I know it's very frustrating when you go tempo and you go 3 and out and the clock didn't run more than 10 seconds because there was 3 incomplete passes, and now your defense is right back out on the field, after a long drive. It can be very frustrating as a defensive coach, I know. And so we try to, that plays into it too. And like I mentioned, Auburn, Auburn goes a lot of tempo and that kind of thing. And so we would try to back off the tempo a little bit, A, because we knew their defense saw it every day in practice, and B, because we knew that they were going to do tempo. So we try to give our defense a little bit of a break. So it kind of goes both ways, but yeah.
Some good thoughts. I might be the one defensive coach in the country that doesn't care about an offense going 3 and out, because it's up to us as a defense. We can go out there and we can go 3 and out too. So
absolutely.
I'm not too. All defensive coaches probably hate me by saying that right now, but it's up to you, defense. Stop them. What is one factor when determining a pass play that you want to carry into a game? Like, obviously, you're probably carrying your staple 4 verticals, those type of concepts, your bread and butter every week, no matter what. But something that might be your 8th selection on the menu, like what would be one factor of why you wouldn't carry that play into a game?
Yeah, I think that, we talk about coverages and that kind of thing. Are there going to be a lot of coverage variations? Our base pass plays and the plays that we like to run the most and that we're going to carry in almost every game plan are the ones that have a lot of different answers that are good against several different coverages and that kind of thing. So as you get down the line and you start looking at, what kind of different pass concepts can we carry, we really try to look at, are they, 1 high team or 2 high team? Are they going to bracket guys? Are they going to play just straight zone? Are they zone droppers, or are they collisioning people and matching? That all plays into it. You really got to see just how they want to run their defense and how they want to run their coverages, and then try to find something that you do that matches up well against it. And we try to disguise that. We don't try not to carry a whole lot of plays. We try to carry them in different looks, and especially from week to week, giving different looks too, so that they're not seeing the same thing they saw on film. That's important. But we just try to look at, we have our bracket beaters. We got our 1 high beaters, man beaters, 2 high beaters, that kind of thing. And so we try to see, what's their base coverage, against certain formations and down and distance. What can we anticipate them being in? I'll be honest with you, the last few years at Florida and at Mississippi State, if a team was going to be more of a 1 high team, we probably weren't really going to carry 4 verts. Maybe 1 out of a 3x1 set. But 1 high teams, cover 3 teams, know they're going to get verts run against them. And so they practice that a lot. And really, they're probably better against that concept than a lot of other concepts because they practice it all the time, because it is an issue. It can be an issue on the board, especially you draw it up. But a lot of plays that we draw up as offenses are issues for defenses, but they don't always work out because, just you don't run them all the time. But if we saw a 2 high team, we saw a split safety team, we loved 4 verts. We were all about it. We felt that, you could get guys across safeties' faces and getting some different looks that way, some play action and things that opened up our game plan a little bit, because 3-by-1 pass game is easy. You can draw up pass routes all day long at a 3-by-1. It gives you so many options. But 2-by-2 pass game is a little bit harder, to come by as far as getting it on the field, especially if you're only seeing depending on what type of defense you're seeing. So we try to find ways to really get as many 2-by-2 pass concepts as we can, just to be able to give us some different things. We like 2-by-2 runs, so try to balance it out that way. But yeah.
My next question is, and a lot of defensive coaches don't necessarily understand quarterback reads. I obviously coached 3 years of offense here, so I have a decent understanding of it. What type of quarterback reads will you bring into a game? Like an area read, or do you read a player? Do you read best look? Are you 1 high, 2 high? Like, how many of those different type of concepts do you think you bring into a game typically?
We really have probably, I would say, 3 different types of reads for the quarterback. We have what we'll call a progression read, where the quarterback is he's starting to one side, starting weak, and then just working across the field. And the first guy that's open, throw it. Cut it loose. Doesn't matter. First guy's open, throw it every time. Take it. If you get all the way to your 5th read, go all the way to your 5th read. Whichever guy pops first, that's what we're going to look at. Now, there are things that we, little kind of tips and hints that we give them that, hey, if you're getting a 1 high defense, this is probably where the ball is going to go. But read it out. If you're getting a 2 high defense, you're probably going to be over here, but still read it out, because you never know what will happen on any given snap. Someone can fall down, defense can bust, whatever it is. So those type of progression reads and stuff, we do have quite a bit of those, because those are really easy to pick up for the quarterback day one, and they become kind of an easy, base part of your offense. We have, 1 high, 2 high reads, split field reads, where you're looking, 1 high, you're looking this way, 2 high, you're looking this way, that kind of thing. And we have several of those concepts as well. And then we also have, what we call 3-level reads, or deep defender, flat defender reads, where the flood concepts, that kind of thing, where you just read it top down. If they're covering the deep guy, come down to the next one. Is he open? No, come down to the next one. And so we try to simplify things as much as we can with quarterback reads. Try not to give them a whole lot of stuff to look at, because they have enough to worry about. But those are the 3 main kind of reads that we have. I mean, you obviously get into situations where if you get man-to-man and you got a shot play on, or you got, goes on the outside or whatever, you got to take your best matchup. And we address that within game plans. But just how our offense is set up, those are kind of the 3 main reads that we'll carry. And that'll be the bulk of our pass game in a game plan. Well over, I would say over 90% will be those types of reads. So that's kind of where we live.
I have a question off of that. How frustrating as an offensive coach, say it's 3rd and 20 and you're running a smash concept, and traditionally they're playing press quarters, so you think that you're going to get a ball off to the corner. Now this team's 1 high, they're bailing, they're playing cover 3, and your first read is the hitch, and you bang the hitch on 3rd and 20, which is the quarterback, that's what he was told to do, and then it only goes for 8. Like, how frustrating as an offensive coach is it sometimes when your progression reads aren't necessarily right for the situation?
Right. So, first off, sometimes, defenses, you guys are good coaches also. Sometimes you get us, it's one of those things. Sometimes you win, and that's, you got to live with that and move on. I think when that happens, you got to try to get as much as you can, not make a bad play worse, get positive yards. So in that situation, it's 3rd and 20. He spits to the hitch, and we get 7 yards. Great. We'll punt, give our defense a shot and try to get the ball back. Second, I think that it's one of those things too, where if that does happen, it is frustrating, but not frustrated at the player for throwing the hitch, because that's what you taught him. Be frustrated with yourself. Put your guys in better position. If you think that they're going to be press quarters on 3rd and 20, and you call it wrong, and they're in 1 high bail, maybe you should go back and look at, okay, how are you breaking things down? What did you see on film that made you think that they were going to do that? And then what happened? Maybe it's one of those things where they held it all season until they got to you, and they said, okay, we're going to bust this out now. And it's total out of left field, and you've never seen it, didn't know it was coming. Like I said, sometimes you get us, but you also have to be able to adjust things on the sideline, and be able to talk with your coaches and say, okay, they're not doing what we thought on third down. What are we how are we gonna address this? Let's get this fixed now. Instead of waiting until after the game when it's too late. But that's one of those things. I will say one thing: 3rd and 20, we're just going to run outside zone. So, I mean, and if you don't fit it right and it fits for 60, then we got one. But if you fit it and knock it down, then we'll punt and give it back to you. So, but that's it's like I said, it's one of those things where we try to mitigate as much of that frustration as we can with the player on the front end with us, in our preparation, and trying to put them in the best situation possible, put them into scenarios where they can play fast and they don't have to think too much. We do the thinking for them, and so that's what we put on ourselves as coaches. We try to do that for them, and so that they can be successful. And that's so we will look inward in that scenario more so than be frustrated with the kid not making a play. He's just doing what you taught him.
Well, that definitely makes sense, and it's a great understanding as the coach, understand your progression. If the first read gets to the sticks, then you're in pretty good shape. If the first read is 10 yards in front of the sticks, then again, you pick a different concept, put your guy in a better situation. Run that play on first down, not 3rd and 10. My last question for you is, what is your favorite run scheme, and why?
Run scheme. So I think there's a lot of cool things you can do with the run scheme, with runs and different things. Even something as simple as, inside or outside zone can become very intricate and very involved. If I had to pick one to go with, outside zone to me is something that gives you a bunch of different options. It puts stress on the defense horizontally, because you're not always going to – inside zone, you need to be able to get vertical movement. You got to be able to move guys off the ball, and that's not always going to happen. Defensive line, guys are athletic, they're good, they can take up holes and that kind of thing. So outside zone to me gives you some more options. Be able to, like I said, stretch the defense horizontally and make them run. And so if I had to pick one just to go with on day one, that's the one I'm going with. I think it's pretty simple in its teaching. I think that it lines up well to a lot of different defenses. There's obviously some looks that you'd prefer not to run it into. If you can stay out of it, great, but it's not going to kill you if you don't get it against the exact look. I think with gap schemes, which are great, I love counter, love one back power. Those things, I think that you're looking for specific looks with those plays. If you get the A gap defender to a certain side, if you get a shade to the back, or you're getting a 3 to the back every time, that great gap schemes are awesome. I think those match up a little bit better. You're getting multiple fronts and multiple looks. Again, I think outside zone's kind of where I would like to live. You can dress it up and make it look different, do some different things with split flow and that kind of thing. But that's what I like. It's kind of the base part of our offense. We do really well with it, and we try to block it up against a lot of different looks. As I'm sitting here saying that, another one just popped into my head. That's in my mind right now is really giving outside zone a run for its money, and that's duo, or what we call duo. You see a lot of the NFL teams running it. A lot of colleges are running it now. Zone opposite, or power without the puller, or whatever you want to call it. Really getting 2 double teams at the point of attack, and then letting your back kind of read the mic and let him find it. That for us has been a really successful play also. But we really only run it out of a couple formations. And so we try to master it out of those formations, master all the different looks that you can get out of it, and then attack it that way. So duo is a good one too. But I'd probably still stick with outside zone. It's just easier to teach, and relies less on athletic ability, and you can kind of manipulate things a little bit more.
I thought being a former quarterback, you were going to say quarterback sneak, but the last thing I have for you is tell us a little bit about Howard, and then what areas you personally recruit.
Well, first off, if anybody knows anything about me playing quarterback, they know that I was not a running quarterback at all. So that, quarterback run is definitely out of the picture. Howard, Howard University in Washington, D.C. It's right in the middle of D.C. You're 10 minutes from the Capitol, or 10 minutes from the Capitol building, 10 minutes from the White House, the National Mall. All of that stuff is right down the street. It's an historically Black college university, with an immense amount of tradition, and the people that are on campus that are a part of it, the alumni, everything. It means so much to them to be a part of Howard, and I think that's something that's kind of unique to find. You find people with strong alumni bases, and there's a few schools that pop out in your head with that, but I'm telling you, when you see Howard, it's a different type of feeling. It's a different deal. It's a really, really special place. Everyone you run into on campus is on top of their game. They're crazy intelligent people working there, and that love to be there and love to do what they're doing for that university. So it's a really unique experience. Most all of my experience in college has been in small college towns, kind of really revolved around the school and that kind of thing. You're in the middle of DC, man. That's a big time city. Like, that is New York City without the tall buildings. Essentially there's people everywhere. There's a lot going on, and everything. And so it's a really, really unique experience, a really cool atmosphere. And one thing that, I told, someone I was talking to after I took the job there is you walk down the street and you see, in other cities and stuff, and you see a building that says the Department of whatever, or such and such headquarters. When you're in DC, like, that's the actual building. Like, that's that's where the buck stops. Like, that's it. Like, this is the actual department of whatever it is. This is where all the decisions are made, and that kind of thing. And so you feel that. You feel, that weight of everything kind of being the center of the universe, in Washington D.C. And there's a lot more going on than just what is going on campus, which I think is a really, really cool thing. It gives you a lot of different options and a lot of different opportunities.
And then what area do you recruit?
Yeah, so I recruit Western Maryland, out in Maryland, west of DC and that kind of thing, and then Missouri, Kansas, and Southern California. So those are my main recruiting areas. I'm gonna pick up, some pieces here and there, in the Midwest and that kind of thing, Oklahoma, Nebraska. I'll take some kids from there if we get some interest. But those are my main spots.
How can coaches or recruits reach you best?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Coach Beach HU. That's Coach Beach, like the beach, like the sand. All right, like where everyone wants to be right now instead of stuck at home. Coach Beach HU. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Brett Beechner. You can find me anywhere. Hit me up, DM me. Email me, brett.beechner@howard.edu. However it works. We're always looking for guys, and we'll evaluate whoever wants to give us their film. We're going to evaluate them. So unless a kid with the name Nick Davis comes across, then I might just delete that one. But because I know you've been putting together some highlights with pump blocks and that kind of thing. But no, it's however. I'm not on TikTok. I'm sorry, you can't find me on TikTok. I'm not buying into that one yet. But you can find me on Twitter and everything. I'm pretty easy to find.
I think TikTok's going to be the future of college recruiting. Just made
Hey,
my first TikTok.
More power to you. I think that the quicker you can adjust to something and go, the kids like it. You got to do it. Like I said, I haven't gotten bought into TikTok yet. I know my 13-year-old stepdaughter is crazy about it, so I know it's coming, but I'm staying away from it for right now.
I'll just have to find her account so I can see you dancing. But it was a pleasure to have you, Brett. Thanks for spending time with us. You got anything else for the people?
That's it, man. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for the opportunity. I think you're doing awesome with these videos and stuff, and you're obviously doing a great job at Rose. Keep up the good work, and hope to see you guys soon.